Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Ask an Introvert podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Ho. If you don't know me, I'm an introvert and I'm a life coach who helps introverts take root into our natural personalities and lead by example to have the life we want in a way that works for us. Today's topic is voice and visibility matter for introverts. I've kind of been avoiding talking about this one. You know how the more important something is to you, the more you stress about how to present it because it needs to be done the right way. So you just hide it and keep refining it in the background and trying to protect it until it's perfect. But then the finish line for whatever perfection is keeps moving because part of you knows that things can always be improved and nothing is actually perfect. Yeah, that's the conversation I've been having with my human brain. It pulls me into this headspace of overthinking and just thinking the same things over and over again. And I recognize that it keeps me from progressing. So this week, I really had to put my foot down and redirect my focus. And redirecting focus is a skill that we can work on in the Take Root Private Coaching Program. In this program, in just 90 days, we work on one part of building soft skills like redirecting your focus or using your voice or becoming more visible, and incorporate that with a very specific life project, such as making new friends in your city or initiating difficult conversations at work. In Take Root, you'll know your exact next steps towards leading the life that you actually want to live, not the fake extrovert life you've been told to have. It's a safe space for you to stop pretending to be extroverted, stop forcing yourself to fake it to make it, and stop hiding behind a mask just to fit in. Instead, you get to start being your whole introverted self at work and at home. You can book a call to learn more at byjenniferho.com/coaching, which is also linked in the show notes. Okay, now let's dive in to voice and visibility matter for introverts. So, what does this even mean? What this means is we introverts really can't rely on other people to represent us. No matter how well you can explain something to someone else to present it for you or pitch it for you or communicate it for you, if you want to take credit for your ideas, if you want to really own your own personality and your voice and your genius and intelligence and creativity, if you want to publicly be known for that, you have to develop your own voice and visibility. For example, at work in the past, I would ask my colleagues or my boss to present, but then I would end up getting really annoyed because they just didn't share it the way I asked them to. But how could they? They're not me. So I realized instead of asking someone to do those things for me, I had to figure out a way that I was comfortable to do that. And now that I've built up my skills, it's different. But thinking back, the first step, like I was just too scared to do it on my own anyway. So I had to ask these other people to pass the mic to me. Um, and I realized that that one first small step is using my voice and making myself more visible because I was expressing a need that I had. So that's at work, but how do voice and visibility matter in our lives? Um, so take entrepreneurship, big part of my life. Um, if you look at the online coaching space, especially, a lot of people offer the same services. The differentiating factor is usually how the branding is set up. And for you, that's your personal reputation. You are the differentiating factor. Why do people want to work with you? As I reflect on this and pose the question for you, People want to work with me because I'm calm, grounded, and have a no BS attitude. They also feel safe with me because they see how I live my life and how I navigate my own problems. And I'll be the first to tell everyone that I don't have all my shit together. And because, it's one thing to be relatable, it's another to be relatable and show people the possibility of what can be for them. I am a role model for my community, my clients, and all of you. Or I guess, yeah, sidebar, it's a two-way street, right? You may not see me that way, but I aim to be that. And stepping into that, I have to recognize my own voice and I have to develop my own visibility. Because if I do want to set the example for people or show people that things are possible, I can't really do that under the radar. And that's why voice and visibility matter for introverts who want to make a difference in this world. Another personal life setting can be relationships. Whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, it's going to become really one-sided if you just sit back and listen. It'll feel like someone else has all of the power. Like um I think I've told the story before about my uncles asking my parents if why they don't try for a son when they already have three daughters. And when I and I had spoken up back then, and if I didn't, I was just taking my own power away, right? Oh, and I sigh because I think about being introverted, and we're really good at being in our heads and being alone. And so why does voice invisibility feel scary? And it's because it's just unfamiliar. Like take our physical voice. For a long time, I couldn't listen to my own physical voice. I was afraid of it. It's not necessarily just being worried about what other people think about you or the things that you say, but you're literally not used to hearing your own voice, or you're not used to seeing yourself on stage. And we're not used to it because we're so comfortable taking a step back. But also, the other side of that is we're told that introverts aren't assertive, but we can actually assert ourselves when we need to. Of course, unfamiliar things come with a lot of uncertainty, and our human brains will go to that worst case scenario, like people won't like what I have to say, or people won't like me, or even worse, people will hate me, or I'm gonna say something dumb and look really bad, or oh, of course, my biggest fear, my own brain replaying the situation over and over, or waking me up in the middle of the night 5 years later to replay the situation. But despite these fears, we cannot we cannot work. We can't not work on our voice and visibility. These things matter because if you don't have them, you don't get heard. And all of us want to be heard. Whether you're an introvert or not, we all want to be seen and heard, and it really hurts when we don't feel like we are. I want introverts to work on our voice and our visibility so that at the end of the day, at least we know that we did our best, that we did everything we could to be seen and heard, that we have our own back to show up in the world about the things that matter to us. I think one other thing that sometimes we hold ourselves back on is this recurring thought of how we need to process or how we need to collect our thoughts before sharing. Yes, that's true sometimes. Sometimes we need to process, but that doesn't mean we can't talk sooner, that we can't take up space, that we can't share a half-baked thought or idea because that might just be a catalyst for someone else to come to a realization that they need, or to shift their perspective, or at work it might contribute to the final solution in the end. I've definitely remember holding myself back from saying things, only to hear someone else say it later, and then I would be like, I really should have said that. But why are we waiting for other people to validate all of our thoughts and ideas? We have them, but we usually don't share because we've made up this excuse that we need to process instead. But we have another option. What if we share it and then we can change our minds later if it has process into something else? Here are some questions that I would ask you to challenge this idea that you always need to process things. 1, how has taking time to process served you? 2, how has it not served you? And then I lost my train of thought. Here's an example where it's okay to share and then take the time to process. So I'll answer these questions right now. 1, for me, taking time to process has served me because it's let me see discrepancies and holes that need to be filled before moving forward when I'm working on solving a project or solving some kind of a problem. It helps me develop a deeper understanding of other people, and it gives me space to really articulate words and ideas that I'm really proud of. But here's where it hasn't served me. Perfectionism, big one. I also miss the moment to share. Someone else shares it first. Analysis paralysis. Just hiding behind it to take more time, or using it as an excuse to procrastinate. So I wonder if taking time to process serves you and doesn't serve you in the same ways that it does for me. And for me to work on this awareness of how this story or narrative about needing to process serves me and when it doesn't serve me, the skill that I developed was, 1, redirecting my focus when this would come up. I found myself too comfortable in saying, oh yeah, I need more time to process, and that would be like my contribution. But then I didn't follow up. So instead of focusing on, oh, I don't have anything to say, I start asking myself questions. Like, if I can just add one little thing to the conversation, what would it be? Or if there was something I really enjoyed that someone else said, what if I gave myself permission to just shout them out for that? And when I keep my brain moving like that, it actually processes faster. So that's one thing that's worked for me. Another thing is I actually just let myself pause and ground myself. And I don't try to force it. I also don't rely on the story that I need time to process, but that if I can calm myself, everything will just fall into place. If I just calm myself, I will feel confident. If I just calm myself, I'll know what to say. And then a third thing is I've been working on the belief that I always have something to say. And I really do. I really do, even if I pause. These are examples of things that we can work on together inside the Take Root private coaching program. If any of this has resonated with you, I'd love to get on a call with you to see if working together would help you. You can get started at byjenniferho.com/coaching. And as always, that is linked in the show notes. Now, I want to talk about a really key lesson that I learned about how to use my own voice and being visible. And it's that you cannot use your own voice and be visible without being yourself. It's just not going to feel good. It's going to feel like that faking extrovert thing again. And my own voice and visibility didn't get established or come out because other people brought it out in me. No, it was just me being more of myself. If you take me 2 years ago, I couldn't listen to my own voice. And now I'll use voice notes all the time for myself, listen back to it, and I listen to this podcast. As I looked around me, so many people were talking about Asian creatives and introverts and being sensitive and so on the internet. But no one was talking about it in the way that I wanted to. There's a lot of stuff about fixing yourself and some of it was skill building, but it also felt like it wasn't really okay to be introverted. There's a lot of stuff out there on how to build more conventionally extroverted skills, but it really felt like the premise was that there's something wrong with being introverted, and I didn't want to be fixed. I wanted to be able to say, I'm an introvert and I'm on stage, not I overcame being an introvert and I'm on stage. It's subtle difference, but it's different. They feel different. And over the course of 2 years, look at me now. I am using my voice and I'm very visible. At least 1,000 times more visible than I used to be. And the other piece of this, of how we need to be ourselves, it's such generic advice, but accepting all of ourselves, including the extroverted bits, right? Yes, including the extroverted bits, because no one is 100% either way. And so where am I going with this? So I didn't want to be fixed, right? And I was tired of what other people say about introverts. I don't like how other people say we're supposed to be a certain way. Like, why are you so quiet? Why do you need so much alone time? Why are you always recharging? Why does it take you so long? Why are you so slow? And maybe these questions can be received from a place of people trying to understand, but a piece of me still feels attacked. It's an attack on who I am. And whether it was meant to be presented that way or not, I received them as problems for me to overcome. Why are you being that way? That kind of tone. And the more I tried to change and work on them, the more I felt like I was hiding myself. So instead of this narrative of there's a problem with the way I am and I need to change that, I prefer the narrative of this is how I am, but I'm also going to learn how to do these other things. So for me, I really had to think about who do I even want to be? Who's Jennifer? And Jennifer is someone who just wants to be quiet and alone sometimes. I just want to take my time sometimes. Why are these problems? And what hurts me the most is when I judge myself for these things. And it was really powerful when I realized that I was sitting in a room by myself and saying these things to myself. Nobody else was saying it to me. But after hearing it repeatedly, I had internalized it and I made it a problem for myself. I shamed myself. This was a really, really powerful realization. I realized that, this is where that human brain part comes in, the voices in my head comes in. I realized I really had to separate all these pieces and map it out to understand who I really am. And that's how I learned that, yeah, I might be the problem. Some things about my thinking and mindset were problematic, but the problem is not that I'm an introvert. The problem to solve for instead was all the external messages that I was receiving and had internalized, and how much shame that I had for who I am. Because when I go about the world thinking I need to be louder so that people don't know I'm an introvert and judge me for that, that's really disempowering. It's hiding. But when I go around the world thinking I'm an introvert and I can be loud when I want to be, it hits different. It puts the power in my hands, and it has nothing to do, the problem then has nothing to do with being introverted, and it doesn't knock down that part of me. It's a subtle but very impactful change. Since then, I've discovered a more next level or more obvious change is I will go speak up. I will be loud, and I will tell people I'm an introvert. But my favorite part is just owning that moment when I get tired, especially in this world where productivity is everything. I love being able to say, okay, you know what? That just took a lot of energy out of me. I'm tired now. This is it for the day. And I just own it. It feels so good that way. It feels good. My introvert self feels seen and heard that way when I interact in the world. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure the last podcast episode I ended saying, I'm tired now. Okay, bye. And it feels good. Like, I don't shame myself for that. Maybe someone else is saying, that's weird. That's not the way she should do this. But this is my stage. And to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a message for the fellow introvert who wants to have your own voice and visibility, who wants to be heard and to be seen. There is a lot of information out there that we can learn from, but it can also cloud our own expression. If you have something to say, it's good enough for you to say right now. To have your voice heard and to be seen and visible, it's important to develop a consistent practice of showing up and speaking up. And you can do it while honoring your natural introverted self. Don't wait until you have the perfect thing to say and then scramble to figure out how you're going to get people to hear you and see you. You need to build your stage now. Let people hear and see you now through all the imperfect words so that when you have the right words, you already have the right audience. Introverts, your voice and visibility matter. If you're ready to develop your voice and visibility as an introvert to consistently grow your career or social network, you're invited to the Take Root private coaching program. Join and take action on your life project in 90 days by booking a call right now at byjenniferho.com/coaching. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ask an Introvert podcast. For more regular doses of my perspective, you can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn at byjenniferho. And if you're excited about the future of this podcast as much as I am, I have a few favors to ask. Please subscribe, leave a review, and screenshot this and share it on your socials. I would appreciate any and all of those so much. As always, remember that being introverted is not something to overcome. It's something to love. It's okay to be introverted and to be you. Can't wait to talk to you in the next episode.